Welcome to the Explainer. Let's just jump right into it. Today, we're diving straight into the story of professional wrestling's ultimate daredevil. We're talking about a guy who finally clawed his way to the absolute mountaintop of his industry, only to nearly destroy himself trying to stay there. Now look, this isn't your standard run-of-the-mill story of a champion's glorious, unending dominance. No way. This is a dark, incredibly high-stakes, almost survival horror story of a deeply tragic underdog. We're looking at the fall and the absolutely chaotic rise of Darby Allin. You know, to really understand everything we're about to cover, you honestly just need this one sentence. While others chased fame, money, and championships, Darby Allin chased pain. Seriously, that right there is the psychological key to his entire story. Every single bump he took, every wild dive from the rafters, every new scar he added to his body, it all pointed back to the exact same thing. Darby just wasn't operating on the same wavelength as a typical athlete. He was driven by something entirely different. He was willing to risk absolutely everything. I mean, his health, his career, his literal life, all for just one chance to become the world champion. Section 1. The Ultimate Underdog. So, who exactly is Darby Allin? Well, long before the championship gold, he was the ultimate outcast. Think face-painted, skateboarding daredevil who would routinely throw himself into coffin matches with a blatant, almost scary disregard for gravity. He captured the hearts of fans worldwide because, well, he was completely authentic. Evolving under the wing of his mentor, Sting, he truly became the ultimate underdog. And to fully grasp the emotional investment here, you have to remember his status as a homegrown pillar. What that means is Darby wasn't some massive established star imported from another company and just handed the keys to the kingdom. Not at all. He was built from the ground up entirely within AEW. The fans literally watched him grow, bleed, and scrap for every single inch of his spot on the roster. Because of that, they felt a real sense of ownership over his success. But as we know, every hero has a mountain to climb, and for Darby, that mountain was basically made of sheer heartbreak. Just look at the timeline. Year 1, he falls agonizingly short in his pursuit of TNT Championship history. Year 2, he's taking absolutely brutal beatdowns in his feuds with the Elite. And Year 3, that brought the devastating, completely physically destructive conflict with the Death Riders. He was undeniably one of the promotion's most popular stars, hands down. But the AEW World title, it just always seemed to flip right through his fingers. His body was breaking down, and that ultimate prize felt like it was forever out of reach. Section 2. The Night Everything Changed. After years of punishment, unimaginable sacrifice, and just repeated heartbreak, the emotional climax finally arrived. Picture this. The date is April 15, 2026. We're in Seattle. The hometown crowd is completely electric. And in this incredibly emotional, yet totally sudden and controversial moment, Darby Allin finally captures the AEW World Championship. I mean, it happened in a flash. The arena was bathed in golden lighting, confetti is raining down everywhere, and there's Sting celebrating right alongside his protege. Darby was standing at the absolute top of AEW. He had actually finally done it. Now, the sheer magnitude of that victory is staggering, especially when you look at the contrast. On one side, you have the man he defeated, MJF. This was a champion who was dominant, entitled, and heavily protected. He picked his spots and happily let others do his dirty work. But on the other side, you have Darby Allin, battered, the eternal underdog, that homegrown pillar who had to fight his way through the mud. It was quite literally the ultimate clash of philosophies, and somehow the underdog pulled off the impossible to become the youngest feeling world champion in the promotion's entire history. Section 3. The Relentless Fighting Champion. But winning the title? That was really only the prologue. What was supposed to be this traditional, triumphant, happy ending instantly mutated into a desperate fight for survival. The second that belt was strapped around his waist, his reign transformed into an unrelenting, chaotic gauntlet. He wasn't just trying to survive as champion, he was driven by this desperate, burning need to prove that he actually belonged there. And I mean, look at this murderer's row of challengers. Brody King, Pac, Konosuke Takeshita, Sammy Guevara, Mike Bailey, Kevin Knight, Tommaso Ciampa. Unlike modern champions who, defend their titles sparingly and rest up for months between matches, Darby literally threw himself to the wolves. He was defending against powerhouses, high flyers, and brutal technicians at a frantic, breakneck pace. Every single week, it was impact frames, blood, sweat, and broken bodies. It all came down to a fundamental difference in philosophy. Most champions protect the title, but Darby protected its meaning. I really want you to think about that. Most wrestlers win the belt and immediately try to minimize their risk, right? They want to hold on to it for as long as possible. Well, Darby went in the exact opposite direction. His overcompensation, that desperate need to validate his reign, drove him to defend the championship at a totally unsustainable rate. Did he elevate the title? Absolutely. But the cost of doing it was staggering. Section 4. A Reckless Self-Destruction. And that staggering cost led him directly down a very dark path. The constant defenses, the unrelenting schedule against a massive variety of lethal challengers, it all began to take a severe physical toll. The arena lights somehow felt darker. The medical tape began covering more and more of his body. He was pushing himself way, way too hard. When you contrast a typical 300-plus day championship reign with Darby's high-damage run, the numbers are terrifying. Storyline and reality were completely blurring together here. Darby was quite literally destroying his own body, taking wildly unnecessary risks, and accumulating severe damage before his major matches even started. He was a champion basically sprinting headfirst toward a brick wall. Which leads us to this really tragic irony. The same fearlessness that made Darby champion was becoming the reason he might lose everything. His absolute recklessness, that complete lack of self-preservation, that was his greatest strength as a challenger. It's exactly how he finally beat MJF. But once he was the champion, that exact same trait became his fatal flaw. He just flat out didn't know how to stop. Section 5. A 39-day legacy. Because he couldn't stop, the downfall was pretty much inevitable. A battered, exhausted champion simply couldn't keep up that kind of pace forever, and MJF inevitably clawed the championship right back from him. But what was left behind? It wasn't a story of failure. Not at all. It was the forging of a legacy. 39. That is the exact number of days Darby Allin held the AEW World Championship. Just 39 days. Now, in the grand scope of wrestling history, that is practically the blink of an eye. I mean, some champions hold the belt for literally hundreds, sometimes over 1,000 days. But those 39 days became one of the most intense, unforgettable, and deeply resonant modern title reigns in the entire history of the company. So why is that? It's because he didn't just win the championship. He made people believe in it again. The magic of Darby's reign wasn't in its length. The magic came from the terrifying reality of it. Every single day he held that title, it felt like it could legitimately be his last. Fans weren't watching a scripted superhero. They were watching a vulnerable, broken man fighting for his absolute life just to hold on to his dream. He injected that title with a pulse. So, I'm going to leave you with a final provocative thought to ponder. Did Darby Allin simply lose the championship after 39 days because he burned out? Or did he intentionally sacrifice himself to make us all believe in what that championship stands for again? It's the ultimate poetic cost of a fighting champion's greatness. Thanks for joining me on this explainer. I'll catch you next time as we continue to break down the most fascinating stories out there.